On this episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive, we're gonna make a bunch more power on my 335 without even getting our hands dirty. Who's ready to make more power? Seriously guys, today on this episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive, we are making a bunch more power on my car super easily, super easily. This 335 that I have has an N55 engine, and these things are super corked from the factory. With a little bit of tinkering, they can make a bunch more power, and that is what we're gonna do today. Now, previously with the N55 engine, there's really only been piggybacks available for these cars that will do a little bit of tinkering, and basically what they do is you plug them into a couple sensors in the engine bay, and they basically fool the engine into thinking it's getting different values. Like you plug it into things like the map sensor and the boost control sensor, and it kind of just like fools the engine into making more power. And they do work, but when I had one on my M235i and I had a name brand one, it just drove kind of weird. Like piggybacks don't really give you the best drivability. Now, the best way to make more power in this engine is with an ECU flash. And it's relatively recent that they have cracked the ECUs on these BMWs. BMW does a pretty good job of locking their ECUs down because they don't want you tampering with them. Well, this car's a 2012. I think last year was when this really started to go down, but they finally were able to unlock the ECUs. So now they have access to all the tables and all the data and all the different locations in the ECU where you can modify things for the better. So an ECU flash is an easy way on a turbo car, especially, to make a bunch more power. Now today, thanks to VF Engineering, I'm gonna show you guys what an ECU flash or tune can do for your car. Now, why did I go with VF Engineering? That is a good question. There are a couple different players in the game right now, at least for the N55 engine. To me, guys, when I go with an ECU tune, it has to be something I can trust. You can very easily blow up your car with a shitty tune. And you know, in previous cars that I've had, I like to go with name brands. Like I've had Cobb products before on my Subarus. That's a really big name brand. Now, VF Engineering makes superchargers and tunes for exotic cars, and they've been doing it for a long time, so I trust them. I trust the brand. They have a couple people on the staff full-time for tuning alone. So I trust this company. They're not like a fly-by-night company. I wouldn't just like trust some random guy off the street to tune my car. So that's why I went with them. It's a really easy process. I went to vfe1.com, added it to my cart, and they shipped it to me, and now we are going to unbox it today. So let's get the trusty knife out and open this sucker up and see what we have in this package from VF Engineering. All right, this is the big, well, most important item, I should say, in this box, and that is the cable that will connect the car via OBD2 to a USB port on my computer where I will install their software. They've also included a bunch of stickers, which is always nice, and a license plate frame if you're into that kind of thing. So that's all there is in the box. Very simple. I'm going to show you guys how to do it now. So we're going to go and get my laptop ready, plug in the car, tune it, and then stay tuned to see what happens at the end. Also stay tuned till the end because VF Engineering is offering a discount code for you 335 owners if you want to get this tune yourself.
Before we get started, it is highly recommended that you hook up a battery charger to the battery of the car before you start the tuning process, because if the battery goes out during your ECU tune flashing, you are screwed. Welcome to the inside of the car where we get to play Hacky McHackerson, or at least pretend to be Hacky McHackerson, and hack our ECU and apply our tune. So I've already plugged in the cable into the OBD2 port that is under the dash, and I've connected it via USB. And now I'm just going to follow the instructions that VF Engineering supplies. You download the application. I'm going to put the car on. I'm going to turn off the radio, the HVAC, try and conserve as much power as possible. And now I'm going to let it try and communicate with the car. Alright, so let's go to diagnostics, like the instructions say, read coding data, and let's save these to our desktop, call it my coding data. It's hard to type when I'm all cramped up in here. Now we are going to do the read ECU memory button. And let's just save that as well to the desktop. And now we wait. It says it should take 10 to 12 minutes. Don't be an idiot like me and do this on a super hot day in the middle of the day with the car all closed up and there's no airflow. Alright. So we have ECU was successfully read. Yay, that's good. I was a little stressed about that. It's worth noting that it only took 3.5 minutes. The instructions said 10 to 12, so that's nice. Now what we're going to do is, now that we have the coding data and the ECU memory read, we are going to upload that to VF Engineering's website, and then they will provide the tune back to us. So let's upload it to their site. I have uploaded the files that VF Engineering requested to the site, and it's now about 5 hours later is when they got back to me. They say it's within 24 hours, but for me it was within 5 hours. So they got back to me with a file, and they provided two files, a stock tune and a stage 1 tune, because my car is stage 1. They could also do stage 2 if you have those mods. Anyway, now it is time to finally start our tuning process. And in order to do that, we basically go back into our Hex Flash software. I have the car connected, it's on just like before. And this time I'm going to do program ECU memory. It wants to make sure that I have the coding data first, which I do. And I'm going to select my tune file. Stage 1 tune file for off-road use only. After reading the vendor comments, would you like to continue? Yes, I would like to continue. Now, the directions say that this will take 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm going to time it, just out of curiosity. And the car is going to do some weird things in the meantime. There's like all kinds of errors going on in the screen and different messages I've never seen. But from my understanding, this is normal, so do not freak out. Very anxious. There's about 10 seconds left. And it's spot on. We're at about 9.5 minutes. Please switch ignition to off position. ECU has been successfully programmed happy face. That makes me very happy. So the final step is to turn the car to the on position again, go to diagnostics, and write coding data. And we're just going to grab the file that we took before this all started. Now we are finished, so we can turn the engine off and unplug all this crap and then take this thing for a drive and see what kind of power we got.
Now that the car is tuned, we obviously want to go and see what this thing feels like. And right now I'm just warming up the car, driving normally, and just want to see what the drivability is like driving like a normal human being. And I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm happy to report that it is very good. As I mentioned before, with piggybacks that I've used in the past, they tend to be kind of wonky at like part throttle and stuff like that. And I've retained complete regular bone stock drivability on this tune, but we're coming up to a place where I can get on it. Let's see what the actual power is all about. Let's put it in Sport Plus. Oh yeah. Holy shit, dude. Wow, okay. Holy cow. All right, that's more than I expected out of just a tune. Let's see. The stock tune seems to fall off a little more towards redline, and it seemed to pull a lot harder towards redline. Like I was really being thrust back in my seat. Definitely feels faster throughout the entire power band. I've gotten very used to driving this car the last couple months on the stock tune, and wow, that is quite a bit quicker. Dude, that mid-range, holy cow, from 4 to 5. Dude, this tune Like, I obviously expect it to be faster, but this is like just a tune. I've done plenty of like stage 1 tunes on stock cars, and this is friggin' legit. Let's go in manual here. Jesus, I am quite happy with this. Now, it's obviously one thing for you guys to see the smile on my face and me try and describe the feeling that I'm getting, that it's certainly faster. But let's go see my buddies at Turning Concepts, slap this thing on the dyno, and see what she'll do. This was actually the second time I put the car on the dyno. The first time it was on the dyno, it blew the charge pipe into pieces. Check out my previous video to see what happened. Well, you guys got my impression of the tune on the street. Now we're gonna put it in perspective with some dyno numbers. I'm here, of course, at Turning Concepts, my favorite tuner shop in Cincinnati. Huge thanks to them for letting me put the car on the dyno. We already blew the charge pipe. They replaced with an aluminum unit, so hopefully things will stay together and we can put down some decent numbers. Super excited to see what we get, but let's go see what the car puts down on their dyno. Since the car was already tuned, we're doing things a little backwards. We're gonna run it tuned, see what it puts down, then flash it to stock and run it again to see the gains. With the tune run complete, I flashed it back to stock and we ran it again. When it was all said and done, we made 30 horsepower and 125 pound-feet of torque over stock. But that's just peak gains and only tells part of the story. If you look in the mid-range, we were making about 75 horsepower more over stock and 135 pound-feet of torque down low. That's massive.
More area under the curve everywhere.
Yeah.
More torque everywhere.
And it's funny because like when I drive it,
That's what you feel.
this is what I feel right here. I mean, the first thing I noticed when I drove it was like that torque hits so quickly and just ramps up so fast.
Yeah, and up to 4,000 or so is really where you are most of the time on the street. So
Right.
makes sense. I mean, it's what you want to feel.
Feels way faster. Can we pull up the AFR by chance? Wow.
That's crazy lean. I mean, that's insane. I mean, almost 15 0 to 1.
So the stock tune is what we're seeing here, right? And that's, boy, down low, super lean.
That's kind of nuts.
And that's, man, 15.0, and it doesn't really
Stoic all the way up to 4,000, like 14.7-ish all the way up to like 4,000, and it starts to taper rich. Still only ends up at about 10.5.
Yeah.
As opposed to the tuned one comes in more like what you would expect at peak torque. You would expect to see it richening up pretty good.
Yeah.
And then it richens up all the way up to 12. It's typically 12, 12.5 is where we run these when we tune them to, we're trying to make kind of max horsepower in a safe range.
Safe.
12, 12.5.
Safe way. Okay. Well, that makes me feel better then. At least we're running a much safer AFR. Probably not as emissions friendly, but certainly safer for the engine, I would think.
It's interesting.
That's crazy. I mean, that is a big difference.
That's really
Holy cow.
But then again, they're not running. The engine's not that stressed.
Yeah.
It's not running that much boost. It's not making that much horsepower compared to what it's capable of.
True.
So,
which is why we can see that huge torque increase.
And it's not like you see these things blowing up all the time or having rod bearing issues or crazy detonation issues where it's blowing pistons up. I mean, they're strong engines. So
Built well.
clearly BMW knows something about tuning them, you know?
Yeah, it hasn't blown up yet, 70,000 miles. So.
They're not running nearly the boost that you're running in the tune either. So
Yeah, that's true.
probably twice the amount of boosts.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. Now it's time for us to finally sum up the hex tuning software from VF Engineering. And stay till the very end because I'm happy to announce that VF Engineering is offering a discount to you guys for their tune. But let's first talk about power numbers because that's what everyone wants to know when it comes to a stage 1 tune. So for a tune only with no hardware mods, we made way more power than stock in like area under the graph. The peak numbers only tell like really part of the story. I think we saw 27 peak horsepower and a ton of torque over stock. But what you really feel when you drive is that area under the curve, the big difference between, you know, there was like 70 horsepower difference between the stock tune and the VF tune. Per dollar, it's probably the best investment you could make out of any mod. I mean, it's relatively inexpensive compared to other car parts, and it has, you know, we saw over 100 pound-feet of torque increase in the lower RPMs. I mean, it's crazy. So that's obviously the first and foremost thing. This thing makes way more power, and it drives really well on the street. I didn't lose any drivability when I've been driving this car around on the tune. As I mentioned, I've had experiences with piggybacks in the past, and they just don't have the best drivability in my opinion. So that's great. Let's also talk briefly about the air-fuel ratio that we observed. The stock tune runs super lean, probably emissions related, and it's kind of scary to me actually. It was nice to see that the VF Engineering tune ran a lot richer, which is by most people's accounts safer for the car. So the tune is amazing for sure, but I do want to bring up this charge pipe. You guys saw it in my previous video. When the boost levels were increased, my charge pipe blew up. You can see that right there. It is not in a good way. Now, I don't necessarily fault VF Engineering for this, because any tune that you do is going to increase boost, and if your charge pipe is susceptible to blowing up, it's going to blow up. So this isn't VF Engineering specific, and I've also seen on the forums people, their stock ones blow up, like they were just on a stock tune and it blew up. So I'm not going to fault VF Engineering for this, but the reason I bring it up is I want you guys to be aware that if you are going to do a tune, VF Engineering or anyone's, definitely keep this in mind. Set aside a few $100s for a upgraded charge pipe, because it is likely to blow, and you don't want to be like me and have it happen on the dyno, and then it just becomes like a huge, you know, pain in the ass to fix then. So keep that in mind. And the last thing I'll say about this tune is, while I have had an N55 engine in 2 cars now, and I've used other products like a very name brand piggyback that you can buy for the N55 engine, I haven't used any other flash tuning software, so I don't have a basis for comparison. However, I'm very happy with the results that I got in the dyno, and also I'm very happy with how it drives, and also to see that very safe air-fuel curve. So I really have no reason to go with any other flashing software. Maybe they're better, maybe they're worse, but I can't tell you that either way. But what I can tell you is that the VF Engineering one seems safe to me, and I plan to keep running it on this car. So, you know, keep that in mind. There are other tuning softwares out there, but I feel most comfortable with VF Engineering. They have a good name, and I put their product to a test. It did what they said it was going to do, and it seems like it's going to be safe for the car. So I'm pretty happy with it. That's up to you guys if you want to go with them. But what I will say is that I'm super happy to announce that they are willing to offer a 10% discount to you guys just for watching the video and buying VF products. I don't get any kickback from this, so if you guys want to buy it, great. You get 10% off. If not, no problem. ESD10 is the discount code. You can get 10% off their tuning software. You guys saw the gains. You saw how it drives. I'm super happy with it. I'm glad to have partnered with them, and I'm going to keep it on my car. And if I buy another car in the future that they offer tuning for, you can better believe that I will be contacting them again. Huge thank you to Turning Concepts for letting me break my car on their dyno and putting up with my bullshit. If you're in the Cincinnati area, check them out for any tuning needs. They do Subarus, they do German cars, they've done my Porsche, BMW, they do it all. TurningConcepts.com. Thanks guys, appreciate you guys watching. I really enjoy this car now. It has been tuned. There will be more from this car. I got some cosmetic mods coming up for you guys, so stay tuned for that. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. This has been another episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive. We'll see you next time.
Do you plug it in here or here? No.
So you plug it in here? No.
Well, you guys saw, actually, do you want to walk with? Is that cool?
Yeah.
We could try it.
Gotta have a gimbal, but
It's fine. I'll stabilize it. It takes like 10 minutes.
really? Jesus, even Subaru is faster than that.
it's not.
Subaru, we do open source tune. To flash it, it's like a minute.
Really?
Yeah.
That's because there's nothing on those ECUs.